now I'd like to introduce the candidates. We have running for student government president and vice president, Sierra Spalding, with the vice president candidate Chad Osteen. And then we have running for president Jessica Murphy and VP candidate Nate Nichols. And then Hannah Stepp and Lorenzo Loans. So I'm going to explain the procedure for tonight's debate. So each of you, the candidate ticket, will have 3 minutes each to state your opening statements. And then for each question, the candidate ticket will have 2 minutes to answer and then 1 minute for rebuttal. So we'll start with the first question on the far left with Sierra, and you'll also be able to have the first rebuttal. Then the second question will be the middle first, and you guys will have that rebuttal first. And then the third question, Hannah and Lorenzo, your ticket will have the third question and the first rebuttal, and then we'll go back to the left. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So feel free to ask questions and write them down on your index cards. Maybe pass them down on the ends of the rows for everyone to collect. And I think we'll start.
Each candidate will have 3 minutes for opening statements. Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. I'm Sierra Storm Spalding, a junior and triple major in Democracy and Justice Studies, Political Science, and History. I am not only engaged inside the classroom, but around campus as well. This year, I served as a student senator on 2 committees, Equity and Diversity and Health and Safety. Beyond the Senate, I served as a student voice on 3 important committees. The first, the Invent the Future Enrollment Working Group. The second, I served as the Legislative Affairs Committee. And the third, I served on the 50th Anniversary Planning Committee. Moving forward, my vision is to build and maintain a more inclusive student government that represents a broader spectrum of student and campus issues. For example, we need to include the LGBTQ community, veterans, artists, and athletes, among various other groups, in our shared governance role. To expand on this vision, Vice Presidential candidate Chad Osteen.
Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. I'm currently a psychology major with a philosophy minor and a human development minor as well. Now I'd like to expand on 3 of our key pillars that we're going to keep this campaign running forward with. 3 points are voice, awareness, and support. Voice is going to compose of protect shared governments, increase and broaden student representation around campus. The next point is awareness. This keeps students informed on state and local policies that are going to affect this campus. Next point is promote the unique opportunities that this university has to offer to its students. Finally, support, the third key pillar, is to uphold and defend interdisciplinarity on this campus and to increase formal transfer student support. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Murphy. I'm running for the position of Student Government President with Nate Nichols as my Vice President. I'm a first-year student this year, triple majoring in Political Science, Public Administration, Environmental Policy and Planning with a minor in Global Studies. I also started the Fair Trade Organization this year, so I'm really looking forward to continuing with that throughout the year. I also sit on the Student Government Association as a senator in 5 separate committees: the Academic Affairs, Equity and Diversity, Health and Safety, Environmental Affairs, and Student Resources. I'm also very active in the Segregated University Fee Allocation Committee, as well as Residence Hall Apartment Association. I am also the Vice President of the Roy Community Council. And now Nate will tell a little bit about himself.
Hi everyone, I'm Nate Nichols. I'm majoring in Design Arts. I am also a senator in Student Government. I am in the Student Resources Committee and the Rec and Athletics Committee. I'm also the Leadership Development Director in Residence Hall and Apartment Association and was formerly the first floor rep in Roy Community Council.
Oh, and we can also go into our platform. Obviously, you guys are probably a little bit curious about that. So we have 3 main points. The first being reestablishing EcoU, which we will be doing by supporting fair trade on campus, also by connecting with various environmental organizations on campus and just networking with them to have different organizations involved in this movement. The second one being prioritizing childcare on campus, because as you all know, we don't have childcare on campus right now, and it's vital to strengthen the partnership between students, faculty, and the community. The third step is establishing the Good Samaritan policies on campus, which is just ensuring the health and safety of our student population.
Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Stepp. This is my buddy Lorenzo Loans, running for VP. I'm running for president. So I was originally going to talk about some of the things that I'm involved with here on campus. So of course I am a member of Student Government Association currently. I'm chair of university governance. And I've done a couple things here on campus, but I really wanted to focus more on why I'm running, because of course we're all involved in a lot of things, but I'm sure you're curious, okay, well what sets us apart? So here's the thing, Lorenzo and I, we're both juniors. So we've been here for enough time to realize that this university offers you an incredible bunch of opportunities for change, for leadership, for really taking those opportunities for change and making something of them. And that's why we've decided to run, is because being head of Student Government Association, gosh, especially in a time when we are faced with budget cuts, this is our time. Because the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay doesn't ask for smaller problems. Who's heading it is going to take charge and say, well, how can we come out of this thriving? And so that is what we are going to do. Our platform does consist of 5 points, so I'll run through those quickly. I'm sure there's going to be questions where we'll talk about that, so I'll just kind of give you a briefing. So the majority of us here are students, so we've all had to face registering for classes. How frustrating is the SIS user system? It is time-consuming and it is confusing. So one of the things that we wanted to work on was basically simplifying that, especially for incoming freshmen who find it confusing, because I know that I did. Livening the student atmosphere. So we want this atmosphere on our campus to be fun, exciting. People should be on the weekends like, I want to go to UW Green Bay this weekend, not somewhere else. No one should be leaving, they should be coming here. Another thing that many of you may already know, Lorenzo and I are commuters, so we wanted to help strengthen the relationship between commuters and the on-campus residents, and just to our university overall. We did want to also reignite the EcoU University name that we were given years back. So, of course, the environment is important, and we plan to reignite it and give it a fresh face so that it's exciting for everyone. And lastly, just increasing SGA transparency. We're making so many decisions here in SGA, especially with budget cut time. I hate to say it, but it's true. So why should the students not know what they are getting involved in? Why should they not know what we're working on?
Hello guys, my name is Lorenzo Loans. I'm a junior here at UWGB. I'm a major in psychology, a double major in psychology and human biology. I could go through the things I'm involved in on campus. I TA from various science classes, a research assistant in the psychology department. But this isn't really about me. I'm in this for you guys. So my vision for this campus is I want SGA as a student body to closely resemble the student body, our population here at UWGB. The closer we can get that to resemble, the more likely we are to accurately represent the students, and the less likely we are to exclude members in different groups of our population. Thank you.
From here, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. The first question is, what actions are you going to take on the issue of childcare within your term? In detail, explain how you plan to execute your stance.
Thank you for that question. I absolutely think that childcare should be a priority moving forward. I think that it is clear that the students wanted it. It was almost a 2/3 majority vote when it passed as a resolution, or a referendum, excuse me. Moving forward, I think that student government needs to get more behind the child care resolution, not just in having random senators sitting in, but people are aware of what the budget's going to look like, the business plan is going to look like, and we have to defend it as a resource for students. And we may need to explain that again to students, incoming students, first-year students, and maybe sophomores, that this is what we voted on, this is what passed, and this is why it's important. It serves as a resource, much like the Pride Center and the AIC for students. Maybe for minority students, but maybe also for faculty, for staff, for parents, and beyond that, it serves as a resource for scholars. And Chad can expand on that a little bit.
Thank you. talking about it as a resource, this provides great opportunities for several disciplines within this university. This provides internships and other research assistantships that could be used within this to help students get involved in the careers they want to do. The childcare, you have a 1-1 now representation working with that. Business, well, how do we run this? How do we do a more effective business with the childcare? Human development, same thing as psychology. How do we really get these kids? What's the most effective way to really pursue this? And several other disciplines that would benefit from this. So it's not just benefit to the faculty and the other students that will be using this, but the students to get involved and have a 1-on-1 jump start in their careers.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much for that question. So Nate and I are actually both involved in the Child Care Alliance on campus currently. Nate recently joined, and I think it's really important that we not only keep that going, but definitely make it more transparent to not only the members of student government, but also the student population in general. I think we're doing really great work there. Right now, we just got the business plan figured out, but obviously if we can implement that and have lots of student focus and attention, resources placed towards this plan, we can definitely get a lot accomplished. As just reiterating what they were saying, is that it's really important that we have this childcare established on campus, because we are one of the few UW schools that does not have a childcare on campus, and especially considering the number of adult students that we have, this is vital for our campus to continue to thrive. This will not only increase retention rates, hopefully, but it'll also increase the minority students that we have on this campus, which is something that we desperately need.
And I thank you again for the question too. Everybody wants quality care for our children, so of course Lorenzo and I do support this. And I'd also like just to take a second to thank Jessica for working with all the things that are going on with childcare right now, because I know quite a bit about it and there's a lot going on. So thank you for everything that you do. That's a lot of work. So this semester I had the opportunity to work on the constitutional revisions for Student Government Association. And one of the things that we really wanted to make sure was that there was someone sitting in on the Child Care Alliance Committee from student government. So we chose that person to be the chair of equity and diversity, and that's just one of the ways. Of course that this is important. Like Jessica said too, we have a lot of adult students returning, and so it's easier for them from my conversations with them. I'm not a parent myself, but I've had plenty of conversations about this. It's easier if your child gets sick, if your child needs you. It is distracting from your academic work, which is why we're all here, for you to drive and go get them. So knowing that your children are here, that they're safe, that they're in a safe learning environment, why would that not put the minds of our students at ease? Very important.
I believe I'm not a parent myself, but obviously it's been well documented that we're one of the only schools in the state that doesn't have child care. And we all know that the benefits, but what we have to do as a student body, is although we're not parents and it may not directly affect us, we have to bring the relevance to people around us. And the only way that we can do that is bring people from this is an interdisciplinary school, bring people from different various degrees and work together on a problem and take an integrated approach.
Now we'll start with Ronald.
Thank you. I think it's pretty clear that all 3 tickets are in support of the Child Care Center, but I'd like to expand a little bit on what actions we plan to take in our administration if elected. It goes beyond just demonstrating the importance of it, and that it does directly affect everybody, because it means our professors can stay longer, perhaps for office hours, or that they don't have to leave when their kids are sick or something like that. But beyond that, for actions, we obviously need to inform students again. I touched on that a little bit earlier. And the way that we're going to be able to do that is by going out and explaining in not only terms of a business model, not only in terms of what it's going to do with scholarships or opportunities for internships, but also what it's going to do for them if they do become a parent, if they know somebody that's a parent or anything like that. We have to inform them in a way that they're going to understand, and also on the social justice standpoint. The second thing we can do is work with the Child Care Alliance. I will admit I signed up to be on the committee and was overwhelmed by all the information that we have to take in when you sign up late for it. So I commend Jessica for being a part of that, and I definitely think that we have to do something more with SGA and learning and catching up on what they've been working on.
We have no rebuttal. Thank you.
I guess the only thing that I would care to add is, while we do appreciate moving forward what we're going to be doing, I would just like to comment a little bit on what we've already done to further promote this Child Care Alliance Committee, which is my working with just making sure that it's the right person that will be sitting on the Child Care Alliance group. I think that's very important. You don't want to be overworking a position that won't have the time, and you don't want to find a position that doesn't quite relate. So we took a lot of time putting that in consideration, and so I just want to comment on that as well.
With question 1 over, we will move on to question 2. the middle podium will start, and we'll go down the order, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll have the rebuttals again after. 2 minutes for the question answering, and then 1 minute for the rebuttal again. Question 2. How do you plan to assure that you are approving dedicated members to SGA?
Thank you very much for that question. I know that several senators have actually brought that up as an issue in our Senate right now because it seems as though we're just saying yes to every single applicant, and that is kind of a problem because obviously you want people who are dedicated to the mission of student government, which is just to better connect the students to the campus, to the community. So I suppose we could just like kind of redo the admissions process for that. We do already have the applications, and I think we should just encourage the senators already on the board to be a little bit more stringent when they're looking over the applications and making sure that the people who we're choosing will make really fantastic contributions to our campus. So.
Yeah, I agree with Jessica on that, and just kind of ensuring that we look at the applications of all applicants more closely, kind of strengthen how we kind of look at that and when we're approving them, and take into consideration maybe a little bit more of who we are approving to the Senate.
So how do we ensure that we're bringing in determined senators? I think a great way to first answer that question would be not so much looking at the application, but once they are being confirmed with the Senate, which I had to go through myself as an exec member, is asking relevant questions to them when they are in front. I mean, it's a lot of pressure standing up in front of a group of people and being asked a lot of questions, and sometimes we aren't quite down to business as much as we should be, and we ask questions that aren't so relevant. So how do we make sure someone isn't just doing this as a resume builder? Because I know Sam, yeah, there she is, says that all the time. This isn't a resume builder. This is really about change. This is about work that we're going to be getting done. So I think it would be asking relevant questions and also really getting to know the person in an interview prior to, just so that we aren't wasting anybody's time.
Thanks again for that question. I think it's really important to have a motivated student senate so that we make sure that things on our platform, things on all of our platforms if elected, are going to happen. But we can't just let students come to us. We have to make sure that we're promoting student government to other student leaders, right? We have to tap into that existing resource that these other students, these other groups, such as the Pride Center, such as students that are differently abled, they know what the issues are. They know what needs to be advocated for. And so we have to tap into that resources. We have to look for other student leaders and welcome them to the Student Senate in that way, not just say we have open doors, fill out an application. So we have to go beyond that. Thanks.
Okay, the next question will have the same procedures. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with the rebuttals.
Yeah. Again, we have no rebuttal. Thank you very much, though.
I guess one thing I would like to comment on would be, I do agree that we want to be reaching out to students and bringing them in versus just waiting and seeing who happens to come. But I think one thing that's important to remember is by reaching out to students, how are we still ensuring that we're getting leadership quality? How are we making sure? Just by reaching out, and that's great, I'm all about open communication, but just by reaching out and saying, hey, we are looking for new additions, is that really finding the leadership that we need? So I think it's by really getting to know people, and that's another thing that we talked about, is really livening our student atmosphere to the point where we are with those students so much that we can say, boom, 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 these 3 people would be great additions.
Okay. I'd just like to respond and say that, excuse me, it's very evident who are the leaders on campus. You can look at such organizations such as Phi Eta Sigma or Circle K, and you can see the things that they're doing around campus. You can see the things they're doing for the community. You can look at athletes and know that they're volunteering, they are representing our school, they are stepping up. And you know, and you don't necessarily have to sit down and say, give me your resume, but you can tell by what they're doing and in the conversations that we're having. So I again say that we should be tapping into the resource that we have student leaders on campus already, and it's very clear who are active, right? It's very clear who's doing what and who's advocating for what, and that's something that we can really work with. That's something that we can join and work with other students. And then we're going to know, we're going to understand, like, you would be welcomed in the Student Senate. Please advocate for your cause. Please help us advocate for EcoU or the Child Care Center. Help us advocate for better transfer student support.
Okay, now we will start with the third question, with the same procedure, starting with him. The third question is, what actions do you plan to take on improving EcoU? How do you plan to execute your position?
I plan to establish EcoU. We have one of the best environmental science programs in the state. We have a master's degree program here in environmental policy, and I think we need to bring the students from those two programs. And within the environmental science curriculum, they teach you innovative and creative ways to solve a problem. You know, throwing a plastic bottle into a recycling bin, that's just a start. We get that. If we put posters up with statistics saying, you know, the world is heating up and things like that, we know that. And a lot of times the analysis that we're running and the data, it's over a lot of our heads, and we can't connect. Like I said, we have to make this relevant, and we have to bring the people that have expertise. I'm in science, I'm not in environmental science, and this is the way that we diversify SGA and make sure we get the right people in the right place to make the right decisions.
Yeah, and just another thing I'd like to add to that too, while we are all writing on EcoU, what is different about ours? We're looking to reignite EcoU. This isn't just the mundane repetition of it's important to recycle, it's important to, and those things are exciting, but what can we be doing? We can be livening that conversation. Let's get everybody involved. In fact, one of the things Lorenzo and I were looking into doing was having a meeting with all the green committees that we already have on campus, or just orgs in general, and meeting with them and having a sit down and saying, hey, what do you think about this, this, and this? Where's some suggestions that you guys can bring to the table? So I think reigniting is very different than saying, okay, let's keep running with it. Let's make it explosive.
Okay. So I think that the issue we're battling is that we think EcoU is dead, and I disagree. We're actually second in the nation for living green caring actions amongst 100 other schools, 182 actually, excuse me. So we do believe in environmental issues. We do believe in living sustainably. But our position is that EcoU and environmental affairs is represented already in the Senate. So we focus on representing other issues. We focus on representing other groups of students who care about other things. Environment is important. Environmental issues are important. And we should be living sustainably as an institution. We should be taking these steps. And I absolutely love the other ideas that candidates have put up for. I love the resolutions we've been passing in the Senate. And I look forward to more resolutions about it. But our position is that we need to be doing more in our administration. So our actions are more focused on, yeah, let's listen to these ideas, let's implement these ideas, but let's focus on these other 8 committees, 9 now. Thanks.
I believe that we should also be reaching out to environmental organizations here on campus. I think that's something that's really important because we do have so many, as Sierra and Hannibal did say. Something else I think we could look into is alternative energies here on campus. We don't really have any like solar panels or anything like that here on campus, and I think that's kind of becoming a common thing around, so I think it'd be good to look into something like that.
Yeah, I'm actually a very active member in the Public Environmental Affairs Council on campus, so I'm definitely for supporting any kind of eco-friendly ideas that we can establish, and that's why I'm really excited to have the opportunity to run as president for student government. And just one more thing is that on the Environmental Affairs Committee, we actually have an environmental org set up for, I think it's April 21st. So I think that's one great way that we've worked as a student government to kind of connect all of the orgs just to get those ideas out onto the campus and so the students know what's happening. I also just really want to point out that what Lorenzo said, that was a fantastic comment about how we're gathering input from so many different aspects of campus, reaching out to the environmental studies students, gathering input from the people involved in the EMBI certificate program. Those are just really great ways to make sure that environmental awareness is prominent on our campus.
At this time, we will start with the rebuttals.
Okay, I guess what I would like to comment on would be, gosh, I would hate to say that we think that EcoU is dead or no longer alive. I've spoken with a lot of orgs about how excited they are and how we've been doing a lot already to be helping the environment. So I would really hate to say that right now we're just at a standstill and not excited about it, because I don't think that's the case. I think that what really is going to be focused on here is accepting right now that we've got a lot of excited people. I think what needs to happen next is the bringing of ideas together and going out and finishing.
I'm a psych major, so I'm gonna actually throw my 2 cents in here from the psych field. I believe that in order to get people to recycle, go green, what we have to do instead of forcing people, I'm not a big fan of forcing anyone to do anything, but obviously this is an important issue. What we need to do, when we say we're going to reignite EcoU, we need to change people's attitudes towards EcoU. Attitudes, we know from if history is any indicator, we know that attitudes is a big determinant of behavior, not just forcing you to do certain things.
Thank you. And the other candidates have done a fantastic job talking about getting everyone energized and have mentioned many times the many orgs that are on campus that are excited in getting out there and raising legislation. Just this past Senate meeting, we passed an EcoU related bill. So the problem is not that they're fading or that they have this kind of like misconstrued goals, they're going all different directions. They are excited, they're getting bills passed, they're working together. Now we need to continue that, we may need to focus that and get attitudes within that. But the main focus should not really be that because it has such a strong drive already. We need to be focusing on the science and the arts and really promoting those now as well. Because this school is known for those as well, and they're getting some huge cuts, unfortunately. So we need to continue promoting the arts on campus. We need to continue promoting the sciences on campus, such as the Academic Excellence Symposium that was here. All these wonderful things we need to support just as much as the EcoU drive. Thank you.
I just have one thing to add. It was actually, Chad, you kind of just inspired me. I was thinking about how you were talking about how we should really connect with the art departments and like kind of the overlooked departments. I think it'd be really interesting actually if we kind of combine the two and we had the art students like do something with recycling. Like maybe they could make an art project of recycled pieces or something. I think that'd be a really interesting way to connect the two underrepresented communities.
With then to question 3, Rowan will be coming around to pick up the note cards. If you have any note cards you want to pass down, go ahead and pass them down now. Not every note card may be read. It's going to be at our discretion again. So back to the debate. We're going to have question 4 here. We're going to start at the left, go down, and then we'll have the 1-minute rebuttal again. Question 4. How do you plan to combat the trend of declining enrollment at UWGB?
Oh, that's a great question. And my experience has been through the Chancellor's Invent the Future Enrollment Working Group. And that's an issue we've been struggling with. How do we recruit students? And how do we make sure the students we recruit we're able to retain, right? We want more diverse students. We want students that represent the local population because as of right now, it does not. We want more transfer students. We want more non-traditional students. We want more students that are more inclusive on the university. We want the university to be more inclusive in that way. So one thing that we can do is we can help the administration, the admission office. And that's something I proposed before in the Senate. There are things that students can do and student leaders, student senators can do. And that is helping make phone calls to recruit students. That's also helping to go to high schools and recruit students. It's helping to go to your hometown and recruit students. Spreading the wonderful reputation we should have, right, to other students, to high schoolers. It's talking about our school in a positive light. And the action part, going out and doing it. Right, and you can do it from campus. You can work with the admissions office, not only on social media and making phone calls, but helping them. They can write letters. You can talk to students. You can work with them one-on-one, admitted students say also. And that's where you're going to help get them here. And on the recruitment days, on shadow days, things like that, you're going to get them here, you're going to pull them in, they're going to feel connected. Beyond that, you want to retain them. It's not just about filling that tuition pool. Because just because we fill it one year, it doesn't mean we're going to retain it the next year. So we have to work on retaining them. And part of that is having transfer student support. It's increasing that and institutionalizing it. It's helping to increase first-year student support. It's helping to increase diverse student support. Students have to feel part of this university. They have to feel connected to stay here. So we do retain those tuition dollars. Something I've been working very closely on and researching on how to do that. Do we have all the answers yet? No, but that's where we start. We start as student leaders working with our high schools, with our local populations, getting students here, and then helping institutionalize support to get them to stay here. Thank you.
All right, so I definitely think that it is really important that we connect with local students especially. We have to change negative stigmas. A lot of people think, oh, like Green Bay, that's a small campus, it's in my backyard. I'd rather go somewhere else like a lot cooler with more prestige, more elite, like UW-Madison or something. But we have to make sure that other people recognize the amazing qualities that our university has. We have to change those negative stigmas to increase retention rates, to increase students coming to this campus, increase student transfer rates. Just a fun little quote from Shakespeare, though she be little, she be fierce. That is our university. We may be a small university in the UW system, but you know what? That doesn't mean anything. We can accomplish a lot with the small student population that we have. And if we increase that, that will only increase the amazing feats that like our students can accomplish. Oh, and the one last thing that I want to mention was that the American Intercultural Center actually has a program that they're reaching out to different student leaders on campus about, which is going to speak with juniors and seniors at high schools, so that we can try to like intrigue them and like make them come to Green Bay, or not. Make is a very forceful word, but you just kind of encourage them to come to Green Bay and point out all the amazing qualities that our campus has.
So I'm actually a part of the AIC and their approach to boost enrollment, especially amongst our multicultural students. I actually work with the school psychologists here in Green Bay and in the Schwamico district, and working with at-risk students. But I believe that at this university, we are small, but we have some of the best professors in the nation. Some of the research that they're publishing out there are on the front. Dr. Duran, his book is used at UW-Madison, one of the most prestigious universities in the state. We have great professors. We have to find what makes UWGB unique, and we have to get out to the local areas and tell them what's going on, why UWGB is so unique. Perhaps the biggest thing about enrollment, there's a trick: retain. These candidates have hit it right on the head. We have to retain the students. Who cares who comes here if they're not feeling comfortable? And feeling comfortable is what we need to invest our energy in. What I've learned in my experience here at GB is, people forget what you say, what you do. You got to call them bad with names, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. So what we have to do, it starts up front with our exec members. We have to get out to groups that we don't know exist. We have to get out there and make them feel comfortable, make them feel home. This is where home is, and this is where they feel comfortable, and that's how you boost enrollment. And I want to challenge, one of the things is, if I don't feel comfortable, exactly, I don't feel comfortable in this group versus that group, we have to bridge gaps. We are the leaders on this campus, and part of being a leader is you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's my approach to boosting enrollment.
And with that, we will begin the rebuttals.
Perfect, thank you. I actually really want to expand on Lorenzo's point in that I completely agree. It is more about getting those students here. So there's work already happening on and getting students to enroll, recruiting them. It's more about retaining them. So we retain not just the money side, not just the tuition dollars. We retain these scholars, these people that are going to go out of this university and become better citizens in the state of Wisconsin. And what sets us apart is that I have the experience of doing so. Currently, I am a GPS peer mentor, and what does that mean? It means in the gateway to first year success, I help 30 students transition into school and get them connected to the university so that they stay beyond their first year. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to make one small comment. I know Lorenzo said that we are the leaders on this campus, which is true. Student government, that's what we're here for. We're trying to represent the student body to the best of our ability, and we are leaders. But I think it's really important that every student that attends this university understands that they are just as important. The individual has just as much power as student government does. If one person goes onto Facebook or Twitter and says something about I go to GB and I have this amazing professor, that connects to students. You might still have friends on your Facebook page or whatever that are still in high school, and you can intrigue them and they will want to come to this university because you're saying all these amazing things. So it's not just up to student government. Every student has the ability to make this campus amazing.
One thing I would like to also add, currently we do have a committee of people, it's called the UPIC, so it's a group of individuals who are working on increasing enrollment. It began as about enrollment, but now we're dealing with the budget cuts and how we can most smoothly transition through that. Currently we do have a student voice on that committee, and that is Vanya, our current SGA president. So another thing that I would like to do just to increase enrollment would be to make sure that we're extending that and having the leader next year beyond that as well, so that we can work through plans for enrollment and plans for budget cuts as well.
I think Jessica, she hit on another great point about the students too. They're huge. I was just saying that the exec members, they look up to us, we're the role models. But one of us can't do all the things that all of us can do together. I work, like I said, I work with the school psychologists in the surrounding area, but I'm interested in psych and human bio. I can't do it by myself. I can't get to the students that's interested in political science. I can't get to the students that's interested in art. I don't have that capacity. And that's part of, like I said, by us bringing in people from different areas of the campus, we build our capacity to solve the different types of complex issues that we face in the university.
Thank you. The next question will start in the middle and go wrap around, and then we'll start with 1 minute rebuttals again. So the next question, where do you see the SGA community engagement going in the future? It's from us.
All right, can you quickly repeat the question? Sorry.
Yes. Where do you see SGA community engagement going in the future?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited because we recently at our last Senate meeting, we just approved the position as community engagement as one of our chairs, and I think that's a really important position to have. Not only will they be using social media to reach out to students and possible transfer students, but they will also be connecting to the community. I know Student Resources Chair Jacob Immel, he recently held a very successful program called Phoenix Talks. He helped run the Common Theme event, and that was actually the focus of that event. And we had a student, Lydia Schwartefeger, she's sitting right there. We had students and professors and members from the community like Mayor Schmidt come talk about how we better connect our campus to the community. And the first thing to address is that we do a fantastic job of this already. Things like our Widener Center really connects our campus to the community. Other possible areas of outreach is maybe connecting more to the Bay Area Community Council. That was an idea that was brought up. So if student government can do something like that, be proactive in ways to reach out to community and also make sure the students are connected in ways of like internships or job opportunities, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the community engagement committee, like what Jessica was saying. I actually had the privilege of writing up the job description for that position, just to make sure that it is absolutely including the community around us, because as important as this university is, a lot of the things that we do, we're able to do because of the community members around us. So I wanted to start with that. That was so important to us that we wanted to make sure that their job description was accurate enough for them to be able to go out and do those things without any limitations that would be found in the Constitution. One other thing I want to bring up, Rob, a fellow senator, I don't know if he's here anymore, wrote up a resolution about going out in the community and volunteering. I was definitely in support of that. I thought that was a great idea. Unfortunately, it did not go through. But some of the concerns that the other candidates had brought up was, well, this is on our campus. Why should we be going out? Why not just focus here? There's lots of needs here. Gosh, there are lots of needs here. I'm the first to admit it. But I think that it's important that we're also going out into the community, because the community plays a huge part. In fact, I was also speaking with Dallas Blaney, who I'm sure many of you know, and he just kind of told me, you know, I've taught at a lot of universities around the country, and this is the only one that has buildings named after community members. So that's amazing. I think community engagement is absolutely important.
That's an excellent question. So one of the ways I see this SGA moving forward in the future is, first of all, we need to get multiple orgs represented here. So this would be going to those student orgs, getting their voice, and also maybe getting some representatives from the Pride Center, Veteran Center there. But not only this representation, but we need to do research-based improvements. Now, what do I mean by this? That seems like a really lofty term. What I mean is that in the instances of Psi-Chi and PhD Club, in our own departments, we were doing research on what really struck home and what were getting people involved, what was really, how were they getting involved, why were they doing it, what were they using. So we got to see what students are really using. So what we can do is apply these things within the department and start using them largely to other clubs. Get them involved in the clubs and then get those clubs involved in SGA. That's a great thing to move forward with. Another great thing to do, Denise Bartel is doing some great research on transfer students. She's seeing what kind of problems they're having on campus, what they're struggling in, why they're coming here, etc. like that. So we can see what do we need to focus on these transfer students to retain them here, and what are we really falling behind on? What do we need to put our efforts in, especially with all the budget cuts that are happening? We really need to have focused resources on the areas that matter, not just shooting out in all angles. Another way we can get involved in the community, as some of the others have said, is I was recommended by Dr. Regan Garung in the Psych Department, which some of you may know, to reach out to the Bay Area Community Council. This is something that's doing research-based influences within the community, having voices to try to change the Bay Area for the best. So we can have a representative reach out there, maybe even have a liaison go on there and act out there, so we'd have a direct voice in the city. Thank you very much.
Any rebuttal?
We have no rebuttal.
One thing I would also just quick like to add was, as far as engagement goes, well, we want to actually, I think it's limiting to say that community engagement does only include those who are not students, because while we're here, we're a part of the community. So I think right now we're speaking exclusively of those who aren't enrolled. Well, that's not true. I was actually selected, I'm very excited about this. I was actually selected to go and speak to admitted students at Lambeau Field. So there's going to be a couple hundred people there to come and see what our university is about. And I think that that is a great opportunity. I was talking about this at SGA for us all to come. I think that that's a great opportunity to be reaching out to students as well as the community, because of course there's going to be community members there as well.
Thanks again for the wonderful question. I think it's going to be really exciting seeing how the Community Engagement Committee comes to terms and how that really plays out next year. One thing I'm really excited about is making those partnerships with the community and making the partnerships on campus. I think that's really going to make for a more lively campus. I think it's going to make students more excited to be here. It's also going to make community members more excited to work with us. So we already have some partnerships. We already see organizations going out and volunteering on behalf of UWGB, but also personally. One of the things that I'm involved with is the 50th year anniversary Make a Difference Day, where about 120 of us are going to go out and we're going to volunteer on one day. The impact that's going to make is going to be incredible, and we're going to do it for somebody in the community who needs our help. Not just because we think that they need something, but because they've asked us to come help them. And I think it's going to be incredible, not just for the first year students, but as a peer mentor to be a part of that, to see the impact it's going to have not just on the community, but on students who are engaged in being part of the community. So I think it's important that we have a community engagement committee and that we're going to be able to build these partnerships, not just, thank you.
With the next question, this is a question that came from one of the fellow classmates in the room. What are your specific ideas to get students more engaged on campus?
Well, I think one of the main things would be a part of our platform, which is strengthening the student atmosphere and livening it. So how are we going to go about that? That's an easy thing to say, but there's some specifics that we have lined up. So Jacob Immel, as many of you know, has planned a lot of events, half-off apps, and just a huge array of things that we need to be getting out to students more. Are we really advertising for these events like we should be? Truthfully, I don't think so. I think there's more that we can do by getting the word out there more. And that's A, a part of this community engagement outreach committee that we talked about, but B, just talking about social media and getting out there and promoting it more and getting face-to-face interaction with the students to let them know there are things going on that's going to make this a funner and more exciting place to be.
Thanks again for that question. I think it's really important that students are engaged. But we can't make them be engaged. We can't just tell them, hey, there's this awesome thing, go do it. Liking a Facebook page, liking an event doesn't necessarily mean they're going to show up. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're as excited about it as we are. So we have to go beyond that. We have to mobilize students. It's something I have experience in doing with the UW Students Against Education Cuts. I've mobilized over 100 people for one purpose. Imagine what that kind of energy can bring over the course of an entire year. Not just about events, but about other things going on campus. And we have to do that not just by inviting them. We have to go to them, explain, hey, this is what's happening. Like, the powwow is going to be incredible. The experience you're going to get while going there is something you can't imagine until you do it. Let's go together. It's going through and talking to students, going to them, not just through social media, not just saying, hey, come in our office, let's talk about this, not just promoting these events, but going out and mobilizing them and doing things with them, I think is what's going to be key.
Something that I believe that we should do is also be reaching out to minority organizations, organizations that aren't as well known here on campus, to try to allow students to know about them, because maybe they aren't finding something that they like here on campus, and this way they could be more involved. I'm in the Student Resources Committee with Jacob Immel, and something that we do is Phoenix of the Week, recognizing a student every week for the efforts that they put in towards our campus. And just informing students about organizations here on campus is something that is just very important.
And with that, we will begin the 1-minute rebuttals.
So perhaps I should better clarify. When I say face-to-face interaction, I'm not talking about saying one word and then walking away. I'm talking about having a conversation about it and just getting the word out there. Another thing, too, that I actually forgot to mention would be having SGA members go to events. And I don't want to say go as in we're forcing them, sending out each person to specific things, but I know that a lot of people on SGA already are excited about other events that are going on. So we should be really promoting those events of others through us. We're not the only org here. We've got other orgs. So I think by promoting others' events, as well as going to others' events, piggybacking together, I think that'd be a great way to get more people involved.
If I may bounce off what Hannah's saying, we really need to be promoting all events, and this is not just athletics, because athletics is fantastic. We need to continue promoting those games, but it's also the general atmosphere. We need to promote the arts, all the plays that are going on, the fantastic dance that was happening earlier this semester. We know the academics that are going on. We need to be going to these clubs and hearing their voice directly. And even better, if we can get some people to represent from the Pride Center, some of these underrepresented groups, and have them come to the SGA meetings so they can directly intervene in our meetings. That would be absolutely fantastic. And so you can't just go talk to them, it'd be great, but we really need to directly be talking to these people, directly supporting them.
Yeah, I just have one thing to add. Nate, you did a great job. But Nate and I are actually going to be resident assistants next year, and I want to do a quick shout out to everybody who's involved with Res Life because you guys do a great job. Snaps to you guys. You guys do a great job at trying to get students involved and bringing them to these programs that we offer on campus. So I think that's something that you should really be lauded for because that's a big deal in like increasing student engagement.
The next question also comes from an audience member. How do you plan to work with the RHAA to further SGA projects?
Okay, so I think many of us know that are already part of the Student Center, already part of RHAA, that there are tensions. And this comes from a history of stepping over RHAA's toes when it comes to our resolutions. That's something Plan and I are extremely aware of and that we cannot do that anymore. In fact, if we think something that RHAA should address, we don't necessarily need to bring it to the Senate floor other than just saying, hey, this is an issue. This is something we've heard. Is this something that you can take up? That's something that we're aware of and working with them. Beyond that, we have to trust that they know what's best for residents' life, right? We're here to represent campus. We're here to represent the larger UW-Green Bay, but they're specifically there. They're the institution there so they can represent residents' life, and that's their job, and we have to trust them to do that. And by working closely with them, we can say, this is what we found out. Maybe this is a survey we've done. We'd like to present it with you because this is something that's come to our table. Now take it over, and we would trust them that they have the responsibility to do that, and they have the knowledge and the institutional knowledge to do that. Thanks.
Currently, I am the Leadership Development Director for RHAA, and so and I'm also a senator, so I go back and forth every week between the two and can see how that we are able to work together. Something that we did do this semester, Trevor Mattson actually brought quiet hours to RHAA and also in student government, and we were able to pass a resolution in student government and then pass it again in RHAA. So this is one way that we have worked together, and I believe it's important to work together with Residents' Life as we all work as one.
I think both candidates they hit on an idea that there's tension, and there's going to be tension, and I think this points to I think our society we've accepted a huge lie, right? Is that if I don't agree with you, I must fear or hate you, or we can't. All six of us are up here because we care about students. So if we have to stop publicizing our problems amongst each other, put those aside because we're here for students. I think the start is we got to have open communication. Realize that RHAA and SGA as two organizations, they are independent, but we have to complement one another. It makes our job a lot easier. And so it starts with open communication, making sure we're complementary, and also make sure that we again put our problems to the side for the sake of the entire student population.
One more thing that I would also like to add too, I think it's important that we're valuing the leadership of the other students. So I mean, Megan Leonard, for instance, just this past week, talking about SGA constitution changes, she brought a lot of great ideas to the table. And so I think that, just like Lorenzo said, working together is a huge, huge thing. Open lines of communication is going to be vital. A lot of people think that because we are commuters, aren't super focused on RHAA, and I don't want to phrase it that way. One way that I think is a little bit more accepting would be to say, while we do not sleep here at night, we're still going to be open to hear everyone's ideas with that. So, I guess I'll end with that.
Rebuttal?
We have no rebuttal. Thank you.
No rebuttal, thank you.
So the next question also comes from an audience member. How do you plan to promote the arts? STEM gets a lot of attention, but how will you shine a light on the arts?
All right, well, we're actually open to student suggestions because that is one department that we haven't actually had the ability to reach out to, or like I as an individual have not been able to speak with. As I mentioned previously, I think it would be really interesting if we could have combinations of different departments. Like we could connect the arts department with the environmental science group, and we kind of have them do projects together or something just to connect different parts of campus, really increase that feel of community. And Nate is actually majoring in graphic arts.
So working over in our have classes in studio arts, there's a lot of great work that comes out of there, and they a lot of times have shows in galleries, professors and students alike, and I don't know if you've ever been to them, but they are amazing. Something is just to help people realize what amazing work comes out of here and the great professors and the amazing work that they do.
So the way we can increase awareness or promote the arts is I'm actually working with the professors in our human biology department. And one of the ways that you learn, you grow up hearing that you're a visual learner, you're an auditory learner, and things like that. We were just in a human physics class where we were studying the nervous system, and we were using a piece of art to make sense of the nervous system. Here we have a complex system, and we're using a piece of art to explain this complex system. So this is an interdisciplinary school. We need to keep that in mind. We need to be able to, across disciplines, reach across and try and explain concepts amongst each other. And that's how you truly inspire people to be interdisciplinary. Because then I come up with questions. You inspire questions, and that's what education is all about. Pursuing answers and asking questions.
One other thing, too, that I would also like to add, if I may. Being a Spanish and an English major, I do spend a lot of time in the studio arts and theater hall area. So I get to see hands-on every day all the incredible work that our art students do. That is really something. Coming from someone who can barely draw a stick person without messing it up. So it's a big deal. But, I mean, and that's the thing, interdisciplinary, like just like what you said, reaching out to those students. And I'm there every day. In fact, there are already groups that are collaborating on making pieces, the Monument to an Insignificant Activity. I think that is so cool. We've seen that all around school. So by reaching out to those communities and by speaking with them in those buildings, I think that's a great way to draw them into the conversation as well.
Okay, so arts. What a great question. I was hoping that it would come up. Something that I have done, again, as the co-director of the UW Students Against Education Cuts, is defend the arts. Because it's not just biology that's taking a cut, a $500,000 cut, but it's the arts as well. And that's something that cannot afford because the arts has never had a huge budget. And we're losing very important positions. For example, we could lose the director and the curator of the Lawton Gallery. What is that going to mean? What's that going to mean for our school? Student art shows, what's going to happen with those? That's something that I have worked actively to defend. But beyond that, as Hannah has mentioned earlier, the UPIC, the University Planning and Innovation Committee, is a very important committee on campus in that it's going to decide, it's going to help the chancellor decide on what gets cut. And that's something that I can defend if elected. That's something that if I'm in the position, I can say, no, it can't be the arts that takes this huge cut. We can't afford to lose our artists. There's no way. And we can touch later on interdisciplinarity, but Lorenzo hit it right on the nose again. We are an interdisciplinary school, and we have to defend that. It's not just about the money-making departments. It's not just about the business department, but it's about the artists on campus. It's about athletes and everybody else. But specifically because it's about the artists, we have to defend them. We have to stick up for them. Thanks.
And with that, we will begin the 1-minute rebuttals.
No rebuttal, thank you.
So I think a powerful way to promote art is, and because I'm not in art, I think like Sierra said, that we have to go out and defend one another. So there you see it again. Us students, we have to stick together. I'm not studying art, but you're just as important as me. Who am I to say that I'm more because I make more money? A lot of times that's not what's important in the art department. So we have to stand up for one another, and we have to strengthen the student atmosphere. And also, the science and art debate is always going on. And I was talking to Nate last week, and I was saying that, if you really define science, it's building an enterprise of knowledge. That's what science is. It's not biology, it's cells, it's not chemistry, these compounds. It's about building an enterprise of knowledge. So if art, as I was saying in my previous remark, if you could use a piece of art to explain a part of life, then why not embrace that? Why not enhance that? Why not promote that in our curriculum?
The idea we're really dancing around, as Lorenzo has really beautifully said, is interdisciplinarity here. We need to have more events on campus that really drive this home. Being Vice President of Sci-Chi, along with Olivia Kupta, who's in the audience, we have done panels that have gotten people from philosophy, biology and psychology to talk about similar issues. Now, we need to do more things like this, not just panel discussion issue, but we need to have artists, we need to have different artists maybe from comp sci doing stuff like that. We need to have all these represented and talking, have more interdisciplinary events on campus. We need to defend them so we can use them. These aren't just really vague ideas that are up in the air that we throw around to get people here. We need to be actively using them, supporting all parts of this university, so everyone can get excited about this idea. Thank you.
The next question also comes from an audience member and is specifically for the vice presidents. How would you embody the role of vice president?
You said it.
How would you embody the role of vice president?
So we need to, we're going to have to get rid of this notion that, and I've heard this before, it's like, oh, what do you do as vice president? I represent students. What's the president going to do? We represent students. So we have to, I know in our head we have this construct of a president versus vice president, but the way to defeat that is we both, Hannah and I, we both have to be out in the community, being active members. By the end of the year, I hope you're not able to distinguish who's the president or who's the vice president. We're both out there just as long and just as dedicated for the students.
I'd like to echo a little bit what Lorenzo was saying. We are a team, but we can work together to accomplish different things. Sierra's been doing a fantastic job. She's been fighting the budget cuts. She's been doing a lot of things within politics to really put up the campus. What we can do too is I can kind of be supporting there. I can be looking up these research details, performing these studies, looking up surveying students to see what they really want. Some of these things we can ask around, see, well, what do they want? What are we getting like 20 people to survey? What are they doing? But we can send out large things, ask the larger student body what they want. We can ask specific groups, organizations by going to them and talking to them. We can be backing these up to get this really energy focused in the right direction. So what I can do is be kind of in the back lines, really collecting this data to support this, and then pushing this forward along with Sierra to get this in the right direction, and it's the best spend of our time. Thank you.
Kind of something specific to running meetings in student government is implementing parliamentary procedure. So with that, I think that's very important. Keeps the meetings efficient and organized. But also as vice president is just definitely like working as a team with Jessica. We're really good friends and we can do that very easily. And then also just reaching out to students as well. I do think that's very important as vice president.
Is there any rebuttal?
No rebuttal.
So this next question will be off the sheet again. With your platform, how do you anticipate to represent the student body in a balanced way?
Thank you. Something we've been mentioning time and time again is that we must increase representation in student government, not just in terms of the numbers of senators, but the inclusiveness of student government. I mentioned in my opening statement that we have to include the Pride Center. We have to include veterans. We have to include athletes, artists, non-traditional students, adult degree students in our representation. If you look at the makeup right now of Senate, I don't see that broad representation. I see broad issues, potentially, but I don't see that broad representation, and that's something that we are going to actively work on by going to these groups, presenting them that opportunity. Come to our Senate meetings. You don't have to be a senator, but come to our Senate meetings. If you want to be a senator, awesome. You can consistently represent your group of people, the people that you call home on campus, the ones that you relate to the best, right? You know the issues. Come talk to us about them, because I won't pretend to know what it's like to be a veteran. I won't pretend to know what it's like to be an athlete outside of high school. I don't know what it's like to be an artist and have my budget sliced. But you do. So come talk to us about it. Tell us how to represent you. Or sign up and be a senator. Work with us. Sign for an executive position. Apply for it. Work with us. And help us advocate for you. So we plan to increase representation, make it more inclusive, and then spread it out. There are so many campus committees. I mentioned I'm on 3 of them among the many other things I do on campus for students. And we need to increase student representation that way. Not just coming to Senate meetings twice a month, but going to these other committee meetings around campus to represent students in that way and in a more inclusive way. Thank you.
Yeah, so there are definitely a lot of organizations and groups on campus that are underrepresented that we can really bring out. Specifically in our platform, we have Reestablishing EcoU. This encompasses everybody. This isn't just the people who are involved in environmental studies or anything like that. This is everybody who can be concerned about the environment that they're living in. Second step is prioritizing childcare. Obviously, childcare reaches out to a lot of people in the student population. Not just the student population, but also the faculty and the community members. That's really important. That also reaches out to minority students who might want to utilize these. This reaches out to students who have children, obviously, our main focus. The third step is establishing the Good Samaritan policies. This reaches out to people specifically who are living on campus in residence life, but also targeting the younger students on campus. Those who might feel like they're experimenting with alcohol or drugs or things that they know aren't legal, but you know what, they do it anyways because that's what happens when you're in college, and we have to understand that, but we also have to educate the students on how to get help. And that's the main point of ours, is just to reach out to the students who need it.
I think the first step is we have to sit down and we have to come to an agreement that we're in this together. That's step number one. And so what Hannah and I want to do is I was looking at the budget cuts from the different organizations, and I want to say over half of those organizations I don't know are here. I don't know, and I'm pretty involved on campus. And so what we want to do is sit down and we want to sit down with all the organizations and see what they're up to and see how we can help one another. Because we all have different tools and different skill sets, and we need to somehow put them together to make sure we're benefiting as many people as we possibly can. Another thing too is, as we're both commuters, a part of our platform is we want to strengthen the commuter atmosphere. Strengthen the commuter atmosphere doesn't mean we're promoting you to the community. We have to keep that straight. Well, 70% of the campus commutes, and we have to make sure they feel comfortable. And together, the adult degree program, the veterans, LGBTQ community, the on-campus residents, we all are at UWGB, not just the residents here, but we have to strengthen the atmosphere for the students that are commuting every day to school.
Any rebuttal?
If I could just really touch on that commuter aspect just real quick. We are working on an organization under Denise Bartel. You can contact her to really improve the atmosphere for the commuters. We're getting them aware of what's going on. We're trying to get them actively involved. So really the real problem here is keeping those transfer students. Like I'm saying, all the research in there is very new. We're learning how to deal with that. Commuters were at least starting in the right direction, and I really agree that we need to continue their support for the commuters here. But once again, we need to shift and make sure everyone is getting that push, everyone is getting that effort, so everyone is equally represented and knows what's going on this campus, not just small little sects. Thank you.
No rebuttal, thank you.
I think one thing that we all have forgotten a little bit about is those who are not yet involved in an org. While there are lots of orgs, I know that as a freshman coming onto campus and everything was new and fresh and sparkly, I wasn't involved right away. So there's a lot of students that are underrepresented, and I think it isn't just those in the orgs. What about those who are too nervous to get involved in the orgs? So this kind of goes back to one of our points about increasing the transparency of SGA. So not just those in the orgs, but the students at home in their dorm wondering for something to do. How about you come to an SGA meeting? Talk to us. The communication lines will be open, and we're looking to reach out to you as well.
The final question comes from an audience member. What specifically is the most important action you will undertake as president and vice president?
All right, fantastic, thank you. I know that many students are obviously concerned about the budget cuts right now, but I think it's also important to recognize that, well, first of all, we should point out that it's really admirable, the work that students are taking on. Like, I want to give props to Sierra for her work with the UW Students Against Budget Cuts. That's a great organization. I'm really proud of students who have been involved in that. But the other side of it is that we don't have as much representation as we might like, so it's definitely important that we fight for that, but it's also important to diversify our actions, focus on other parts of the campus that might be underrepresented. This goes apart from just like trying to represent AIC, orgs in there like the BSU, OLA, SASU, Intertribal. We have to go past that. I think the most important thing that we will do as President Vice President if we are elected next year is the Good Samaritan policies. If we can establish those on campus, it'll make people in residence life feel safer, it'll make the community feel safer, and hopefully we also work towards striving towards connecting the campus to the community better. Thank you.
So when it comes to considering what is the most important, gosh, I would hate to label any single action as more important than the other. We have a lot of things that we'd like to work on, and I wouldn't like to say that livening our on-campus atmosphere is more important than reaching out to the commuters. I wouldn't say that there's one that's more important than the other. But I would say that one of the most important things that we're going to be doing is bridging the gap between the commuters and the residents and bringing that communication together. I got to say, driving to school every day, even though it's just a 5-minute drive for me, it's a very different ballgame than when you wake up here and you're in the middle of the action right away. So coming to school via car, which really, I mean, that's all it is, let's make them feel more involved. And that's going to relate to our retention rates, our future enrollment rates, and just our atmosphere on campus.
The most important action for me is I want to make SGA diverse. Like I said earlier, I think we need to make, we were talking at Phoenix Talk with the mayor, and he was saying we want the city, UWGB to look like the city. Well, the reality is we're struggling to get SGA to look like UWGB. So we need to work towards that. And I feel like that's important for a number of reasons, because when you get people from different groups together, they come up with ideas that you couldn't think of yourself. And so it's an integrative approach, and it promotes interdisciplinary, but it also, like I say, lessens our chance of leaving different groups out. It makes them feel more comfortable, and we need their voices in when we're talking about implementing different programs, so they benefit the entire population, because the population, SGA is resemblant of the population.
Okay. So as the other two candidates have said, it's really hard to pinpoint one action that is the most important thing we can do. But I think we can. That is protecting shared governance. It's something that starts right now. It's something that's been going on this semester. Without shared governance, students don't have a voice. No one in this room will have a voice. Diverse groups of students won't have a voice. We won't be able to do these policies. Faculty, staff, nobody will get to say what happens on campus. That is the most important thing we have to do. Because in order to make a more inclusive student government, in order to make student leaders more involved, they have to know that what they say carries. They have to know they have a voice and it's going to impact the university. So the most important thing we can do is uphold shared governance, and it starts right now. It's something we've been working very hard on, and it's something we're going to continue to work hard on. It's something we're going to make students feel that they know they have a voice in shared governance. It goes beyond the student senate. It goes beyond what we senators say, our resolutions that we pass up the line. It's about every student who registers as a student org gets a voice. The faculty senate, the staff senates, we all have a voice right now, and that can be taken away. So our very important first step, and the most important thing we can do, is protecting that so that everything else can come along. Thank you.
Is there any rebuttal?
No rebuttal.
Now each party will have 3 minutes for closing statements. Starting with Anna.
Okay, well, again, I guess the thing that I want everyone to leave with here tonight is just to know that Lorenzo and I bring a lot of experience, a lot of leadership experience, and we care a lot about the vote. We have spent all week tirelessly going out and speaking with people just with a question as simple as, what can be changed? What can we do? How can we change this to make this better in A, B, C, D way? There are tons of opportunities here in SGA, and so I think that it's very important that the votes are given to a party that is going to effectively lead, and I do believe that to be us.
Well, first we'd like to thank you for coming. Oh, going this way? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm going to keep it simple. I don't want to repeat myself over and over again. We've agreed to elect a president and a vice president. That's just the way we've decided to do things here, right? But what I want to do is I want to ask students, you know, we are all looking for the right person, right? Who we vote for, we're looking for the right person. I'm going to change the question. Why don't you be the right person? So I'm going to kind of transition it, and like I said, all of us are in this together. So instead of just looking for the right person, just be the right person, and I believe me and Hannah are the right person for you.
Okay, so first, we'd like to thank you for coming out tonight and supporting us and challenging us. It's extremely important to challenge and criticize your candidates, right? You have to be critical, you have to be skeptical, you have to hold them accountable. Beyond that, if we are elected, we're going to pursue this vision with passion. We're going to count on you to help us do that. We're going to count on the existing and future student leaders to help us do that. We're going to go to them. We're going to make sure that SGA is more inclusive. We're going to uphold shared governance. We're going to uphold and protect interdisciplinarity as it stands institutionalized. We're also going to promote unique opportunities on campus. We're going to include transfer student supports because it's extremely important that we retain transfer students. There is no institutional support currently, and there's data to support that we need it. And now I refer to Chad to expand.
Just expand on a few ideas. One thing we keep on kind of dancing around is interdisciplinarity. I want to touch on it just one more time. The reason is we keep on throwing it out there as this university has interdisciplinarity. We need to support this. Well, what does that really mean? When it comes right down to it, why do we need this university? Well, the thing is, this world that we live in anymore is not disciplinary. There are statistics to show that people that have more well-rounded educations do better, enjoy their lives more, and go where they want to go. So in order to protect that and keep that solidified and enforcing it throughout this university is something we want to continue to do. In order to have that and be able to support it and have these great careers that we want to do, we need to support shared governance, to have that voice so we can even do anything at all. So that would be voice and awareness, things that we need to get around. And we need to support all the unique things that are going on this campus. UW-Madison does not really have the opportunities for undergraduates to be research assistants, to have independent studies, to be teacher's assistants. UW-Madison does not really offer this. UW-Green Bay does. We have this individualized learning center here. These are the things we need to be driving home and supporting here. And Sierra and I can do that for you. We can drive that home and support the key parts of this university. Thank you.
I just want to start by thanking everybody for coming out here tonight. I know this is not the most exciting thing you could be doing with your night, so I really appreciate you coming out. It definitely shows how much you guys care about what happens on our student, with our campus and everything. So thank you very much for coming out and showing your support. I just want to underline that Nate and I, this is a concern that was not touched upon by anybody, but Nate and I, as you guys know, are only first-year students. But the thing is, that means that we have the next 3 years to make a difference on our campus. So we really look forward to having the ability to do this in the role as student government president and vice president next year, if you so elect us. And Nate?
We'd just like to encourage students to come talk with us, talk with SGA, bring any ideas to help continue to engage, so we can help to continue to engage the students.
Go Phoenix!
Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. I hope it was a delight for you all. Thank you members of the court and candidate members. Thank you Phlash TV for coming out and recording this for us. And I want to remind you all that voting starts next Tuesday at 9 a.m. and ends Wednesday the 15th at 6 p.m. On SIS, you'll get an email and can vote right from there. And I hope you all have a good and safe night.